Figures of speech. Learn the figures of speech in English with explanation and examples for a better understanding of poems, prose, and plays. In my previous video, I had discussed the following figures of speech: simile, metaphor, personification, metonymy, synecdoche, and pun. In this video, we shall discuss the next 6 figures of speech, namely irony, transferred epithet, pathetic fallacy, antithesis, oxymoron, and symbol. Irony. Irony is a literary device where the chosen words are intentionally used to indicate a meaning other than the literal one. Irony is often mistaken for sarcasm. Sarcasm is actually a form of verbal irony, but sarcasm is intentionally insulting. When you say, "Oh great," after your drink has spilled over your expensive new clothes, you don't actually mean that the incident is positive. Here, using the word great ironically indicates a higher negative implication, even though the wording is positive. Some more examples of irony are as follows. A marriage counselor files for divorce. This is ironic because the expectation is that a professional who coaches couples through rough patches would herself have a strong marriage. The police station gets robbed. Again, the expectation is that professional crime fighters would be able to help themselves in this case by securing their own station. A pilot has a fear of heights. This situation is ironic because airplane pilots spend most of their time at work high in the air. A child runs away from someone throwing a water balloon at him and falls into the pool. This is ironic because the child ends up wetter than he would have been, thwarting his expectations of what would happen when he ran away from the water balloon. The 3 types of irony are verbal irony, the use of words to mean something different than what they appear to mean. Examples: good fences make good neighbors. Looking at her son's messy room, mom says, "Wow, you could win an award for cleanliness." Situational irony, the difference between what is expected to happen and what actually happens. Examples: the cobbler's children have no shoes. A cobbler is a professional shoemaker, so the expectation is that she would give her children many shoes. A man leaps out of the road to avoid being hit by a car, only to have a tree branch fall on his head. This is not the outcome the man expected because he thought he would escape being hurt. Dramatic irony, when the audience is more aware of what is happening than the character. Examples: girl in a horror film hides in a closet where the killer just went. The audience knows the killer is there, but she does not. In Romeo and Juliet, the audience knows that Juliet is only asleep, not dead, but Romeo does not, and he kills himself. In Macbeth, King Duncan says that he trusts Macbeth. "He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust." but the audience knows that Macbeth is plotting to kill Duncan. Transferred epithet. A transferred epithet is a figure of speech in which a modifier, usually an adjective, qualifies a noun other than the person or thing it is actually describing. In other words, the modifier or epithet is transferred from the noun it is meant to describe to another noun in the sentence. An example of a transferred epithet is, I had a wonderful day. The day is not in itself wonderful. The speaker had a wonderful day. Some other examples of transferred epithets are cruel bars, sleepless night, and suicidal sky. The bars can't be cruel. The person who installed the bars is cruel. Can a night be sleepless? No. It is the person experiencing a night during which he or she cannot sleep who is sleepless. Likewise, a sky can't be suicidal, but a dark, ominous sky might add to the depressed feelings of a suicidal individual. Pathetic fallacy. Pathetic fallacy is a literary term for the attribution of human emotion and conduct to things found in nature that are not human. It is a kind of personification that occurs in poetic descriptions. When, for example, clouds seem sullen, weeping willow, or when rocks seem indifferent. This is also a kind of personification or describing non-human objects in human ways. In the strictest sense, the pathetic fallacy can only be applied to nature, animals, trees, weather patterns, etc. Antithesis. Antithesis, which literally means opposite, is a rhetorical device in which two opposite ideas are put together in a sentence to achieve a contrasting effect. For example, setting foot on the moon may be a small step for a man, but a giant step for mankind. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. Man proposes, God disposes. Speech is silver, but silence is gold. Patience is bitter, but it has a sweet fruit. Money is the root of all evil. Poverty is the fruit of all goodness. You are easy on the eyes, but hard on the heart. Oxymoron. Oxymoron is a special form of antithesis in which two contradictory ideas are juxtaposed or placed side by side, such as cruel kindness, living death, open secret, tragic comedy, seriously funny, awfully pretty, foolish wisdom, original copies, liquid gas. Examples of oxymoron in speech. There was a love-hate relationship between the two neighboring states. The professor was giving a lecture on virtual reality. Paid volunteers were working for the company. The doctor was absolutely unsure of the nature of his illness. All the politicians agreed to disagree. There was an employee in the office who was regularly irregular. Symbol. A symbol is a literary device that contains several layers of meaning, often concealed at first sight, and is representative of several other aspects, concepts or traits than those that are visible in the literal translation alone. Symbol is using an object or action that means something more than its literal meaning. Examples: the phrase "a new dawn" does not talk only about the actual beginning of a new day, but also signifies a new start, a fresh chance to begin, and the end of a previous tiring time. In Edgar Allan Poe's most famous poem, The Raven, the huge black bird is a symbol for the narrator's deep feelings of loss, regret, mourning, and loneliness. Robert Herrick's poem To the Virgins uses a symbol of rosebuds in its first stanza. Since rosebuds only last a short time, they are a perfect symbol for youth and all the pleasures that come with it. Check out my next video for more explanations of figures of speech in English.